Within me. Cave. Me'ara. Cave. Me'ara. Bowl. Ke'ara. Ke'ara. Bowl. Ke'ara. Me'ara. ركعتي كعرتي كعرتي لك عرتي ميلاد طيبة حققتي دمعة طيبة ركحتي كدرتي كدرتي حمرتي بعدمتي بسمتي حفرتي بفتح دلة بيتي بفتح دلة بيتي in the threshold of my home. عمق عموك عمق عموك deep deep and deeper and deeper هفخ هفوخا overturned and overturned again. At the threshold of my home, I placed my bowl. عمك عموك هفخ هفوخا بفتح دلة بيتي صمتي كعرتي عني كعرة I am a bowl בתוכי מערה hollow within Hi كعكتي كعاتي كعاتي لكعاتي ميلوتاي بحققتي دمعوتاي بقحتي كدغتي كديغاتي حمغتي بأدمتي بسمتي حافظتي بفتح ديلة بيتي بفتح ديلة بيتي عمك عمك عفوخ عفوخا عمك عمك عفوخ عفوخا بفتح ديلة بيتي سمتي كعاراتي بفتح ديلة بيتي سمتي كعاراتي أني كعرا بتخي معرا 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 كعرا دعرا سعرا storm سعرا storm. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's a difficult act to follow. Thanks to Ann Albert, thanks to the Cat Center, thanks to the Penn Museum for putting together this wonderful event. I'm going to try in the little time allocated to me to provide some kind of history and background to Victoria's incredible art, and especially her focus on things like sound and signs, script, and so on. So just some background. Eventually I'm going to discuss all of this, but mainly through the prism of the Incantation bowls, which Penn possesses 242 specimens of, roughly. To understand kind of what these are, what these objects are, we need to just kind of have some basic understanding of pre-modern Jewish cosmology. I don't like using that in the singular. There were many different cosmologies, but for the purposes of this presentation, broadly speaking, the cosmos was teeming with forces. Good, bad, neutral, but there are forces everywhere, all around you. Our modern vocabulary doesn't really permit us to appreciate what this means. We use things like paranormal, supernatural, otherworldly. These were part of nature. There was no clear differentiation in their minds. Sure, they might have behaved slightly differently, but these are part of the fabric of the cosmos just as much as any atom, to again use modern terminology. These forces, angels and demons, are natural phenomena. And as natural phenomena, we can try to harness them, control them, and protect ourselves against them. They can be repelled with proper knowledge and technology. In other words, knowledge is power, but in the truest sense. With some knowledge, you can actually harness the power of these forces. There are basically in the technologies to harness these forces include images. This might be an image of an action, I'll show you one in a moment, of a desired outcome, a powerful object or being, for instance, the demon that you see here, but also things called characteres, things like what we call the Seal of Solomon, what now is called the Star of David. Shapes, letters, these all kind of possess some kind of power, and you can use them in the right assembly to harness that power. There are words. Words include things like names. Names are very important. Names of demons, angels, God, actions, stories that you can tell, and biblical verses, amongst other things. And then there are sounds. Some sounds that are clearly intended to be combined and repeated, things like abracadabra that we're familiar with, but also sounds that we as scholars at least have a very difficult time placing, understanding their origins or what purpose they serve. These things, images, words, sounds, they could be independent, they can be used kind of on their own, or they could be combined into what we would probably call incantations, longer combinations of features. They could be placed on amulets, and they would be placed on various kinds of amulets. This is only one form of amulet, and it is called an amulet. If you associate amulets with metal, that's the flattening of our vocabulary, but amulet would encompass things like these in their native understanding. Or it could be oral, or it could be both. And we'll talk a little bit about the performative background to these texts, which are somewhat difficult for us to reconstruct, but we have some evidence that they had a kind of accompanying performance. Lastly, amulets are just one form of technology, as are images, words, and sounds. They were things like herbs, so your garlic for vampires, potions, objects, organic and inorganic, and so on. You kind of had a large toolkit to save yourself or harness the forces around you. Just to give you an example of an image, this is the image of the much suffering eye. You've all, of course, heard of the evil eye. How do you repel the evil eye? Well, of course, you threaten it by showing it all the ways that you're going to harm it. This was an incredibly pervasive image in antiquity. You see it here in a mosaic, you see it here on a pendant amulet, and here on the ceiling tile of a synagogue in northern Mesopotamia. One of the oldest synagogues we've ever found, the only synagogue that we found in the area of Syria, Iraq for this period. And on the ceiling tile at the entrance, you, of course, made sure to repel the evil eye. If you're wondering what the IAO is, those are the Greek letters for the Jewish god being stabbed into the eye. There are a variety of ancient amulets. I mentioned their various surfaces. We are going to spend a lot of time on these. This was the particular way that Jews, and not only Jews, we'll get to that in a moment, but let's say Aramaic speakers in Iraq, this was their main primary surface. But we have many specimens throughout late antiquity of Jews writing on metal. We would call these lamellae. We have parchment, of course. These tend not to survive. I read the diaries of the people who discovered the bowls, and they often say things like, oh, we found this jug, and inside it there was parchment, but we couldn't really read it. And presumably they disposed of it. So it could be that some of these things survived at some point, but they're now at least lost to me. And in the Penn collection, we have eggshells with writing on them. This was probably for fecundity. And we have in 1 at Penn and 5 in the world, skulls from the same exact period as the incantation bowls, from the same exact place with the same exact kind of incantation. Why would you use a skull? There's a good article on that, not by me. Okay, and part of what I want to discuss today is how and why people ascribe power to script, sound, and image. This is not a uniquely Jewish thing. This is kind of pervasive in antiquity. It is interesting that these sounds are often shared, incantations as kind of formulae, but also just things like abracadabra are widely shared. In fact, Hebrew names for God are prevalent in Greek and Roman amulets. There's all sorts of debates among scholars of whether people knew that they were originally Jewish, or that they are associated with the Jewish God, or by this point they just became abracadabra. But they're pervasive. But some Jews at least theorized the power of script and sound by essentially tracing it all the way back to creation. God created through speech. That is, speech is the building block of the cosmos. There's no better way to defend yourself, to protect yourself, to harness the cosmos than to use the basic building blocks of it, right? In Genesis, and the Lord said, let there be. The rabbinic compilation Genesis Rabbah from the 5th century CE has a whole discussion of why God used particular letters, right? So the letters are what give it power, not even the things he says or the meaning, but the letter itself. They talk about the shapes of the letters and so on. So they kind of ascribe deep meaning to the choice of letters, image, sound, and so on. And as much as we kind of want to view this as foreign, there are good philosophers and theorists like J.L. Austin who talk about things called speech acts. We ourselves ascribe a lot of power to words. When you say, I pronounce you husband and wife, for some reason you're now married. That's just speech. So we all give power to words in our own ways, and this is the way in which they ascribed power to words. Okay, so let's just look a little bit in more detail at one of these kinds of ancient Jewish amulets, the incantation bowls. They were discovered there, roughly central Iraq, specifically at the site of Nippur, those that are in our collection, though they've been found roughly in, I would say, where the beginning of that red line is all the way south. There are reports that they have been discovered in the Iranian plateau. I don't believe those reports. Typically, if you read those reports, it's because some merchant purchased it in Iran, which has nothing to do at all with the place in which it was discovered. So I think they're mainly an Iraqi phenomenon of the 5th to 7th century CE. For those who are history buffs, the bowls, where they were discovered, overlaps almost perfectly with the rabbinic settlements of the time. So this is a practice that's intimately connected to the rabbinic movement. There are rabbis who are named on the bowls. There are rabbis who may have written incantation bowls. There are rabbinic texts. Our earliest physical remains of rabbinic texts are the incantation bowls. That's a whole other class and lecture, but just so you kind of can place it within your Jewish history. The first bowls were discovered in 1849 and then were published in 1853. Those were sent to the British Museum. And the Penn Museum begins excavations in Nippur in 1888 and ends in 1900 and has 4 excavations on different mounds. They didn't keep as meticulous records as we would like. This is one of the projects I intend to do in the future, which is to try to place the bowls in their original locations where they were discovered. But this is what we know so far, that's where they were discovered, 1888 to 1900 in Nippur. They were discovered, hundreds of them were discovered, probably many, many hundreds of them. I should note, University of Chicago, other universities have gone back to Nippur over the last century, have done further excavations, and have found even more and more incantation bowls. So this is a kind of a really pervasive practice in this site. They're discovered face down in the remains of homes. That was intentional. It was also great for us because it helped preserve them and protect them from the climate. They're primarily in Jewish Babylonian Aramaic script, but they also appear in other scripts. I'll mention what that is further in a moment. And based on where they were discovered in the archaeological strata, we date them to the 5th to 7th century CE. In imperial terms, the late Sasanian period, but that's roughly what we can tell from where they were discovered. They were also almost always discovered on the threshold of either a home or a room. So this is what you use to fend off something from the outside. Your typical bowl is plain terracotta ceramic. The incantation is of various complexity, typically beginning on the inside and spiraling out. We, of course, have exceptions to this. You have scribal hands of various talent. You can see these are 2 very good bowls. That's a bowl in a different script. It's Mandaic, so it's okay if you can't read it. It is a good Mandaic hand, but that's a really nice, clear Jewish scribal hand. And you typically have images of demons, though not always, as you can see on the top. You have all sorts of demons on the bowls. The one on the far left with the very exposed genitalia is probably Lilith or a Lilith. Lilith was a type of demon, not a particular demon. But you can tell already that all of your demons tend to be, in some ways, enchained, right? This is part of how you are protecting yourself from them. You're bound in all sorts of creative ways. If you ask why that guy isn't bound, it could be that that's not, in fact, a demon, but a sorcerer. It's one of the theories. But typically, you kind of have these binds. Again, you place them outside door. In one of the pen bowls, there are several bowls that have writing on the outside, instructions, where should you place them. And that one says, Baba Bara, outside door. So in case you're a particularly incompetent person, you know exactly where to put it. And this is what we found as well in reality, in situ. If this sounds like mezuzah, it should. I can expand on that more at another time, but a lot of our practices that we now consider to be part of our liturgy or standard Jewish practice might have origins in these kind of protective practices, the apotropaic practices of the time. And again, we found mostly incantation bowls, but there are skulls and there are eggshells as well. The bowls appear in at least 3 scripts. There might be a 4th script, that's for another time, mainly in Jewish Babylonian Aramaic or Hebrew square script. There are different terms for what that is. Mandaic script, which is associated with a group that lived in southern Mesopotamia mainly. They used to be called Gnostics, but they're a kind of very unique religion. There are still some practitioners alive today. And then Syriac, typically associated with Aramaic-speaking Christians, of whom there are still many today. If you ask me, does the script necessarily correlate with the identity of the scribe? That is Jewish Babylonian Aramaic necessarily written by a Jew, Mandaic necessarily by a Mandaean, and Syriac necessarily by a Syriac Christian? I would say not necessarily, but probably. Incantations. What's on our incantations? Well, first of all, you have to name the client. Not always, but typically you're going to name the person for whom the bowl is made. We call this person the client. It can be one person, it could be several people. You can name them with their family members, so-and-so, his wife, his daughter, his sons, so on. So we have bowls for couples, for individuals. You're going to name your angels and powerful invocations, your verses, names, deities. Not all of these are monotheistic by our definition. Malevolent forces, you're going to name the demons that you're trying to protect yourself from or that you're trying to harness against others. Historiole, which is just a fancy word for powerful stories. Precedents, so you might say this person did this amazing act, and by reciting that act, you're in some ways bringing that power into your own magical practice. There are these kind of standard verbs or vocabulary. You heal, you bind, you ban, you divorce, you adjure, you seal. These are the kinds of things you do to demons. And there are voces magicae and characteres, right? Sounds and symbols, our abracadabra and our seal of Solomon, right? Those three things are some kind of character which had power, but exactly what it means is not so clear to us. And there are different incantations, genres of incantation, and we're going to look at a few now. Each of them have their specialized formulae. So I'll just give you some examples. This was outside, for those who stopped to look at the 5 bowls. This was the one on the far left, or your far right. I'm not going to read all of it. I color-coded this even though I'm colorblind. This is not helpful to me. But what I tried to do is to show you the kind of different types of components of an incantation and to color-code it so you can see their relative prevalence in this incantation. It is not consistent across incantations. I'll read a little bit just so we have a sense of what it sounds like. Healing from heaven for Dadbe, son of Asmanduch, and for Sarkoi, daughter of Dada, his wife, and for their sons and daughters and their house and their property, that they may have offspring and may live and be established and be preserved from demons and devils and plagues and satans and curses and lilies and tormentors, which may appear to them. I adjure thee, the angel, which is descend from heaven. Now all of a sudden we have this story, this historiole, blah, blah, blah. In the name of Seu, Semu, who, I don't know who this is, but this is our kind of voces magicae. There's some kind of meaning to these sounds, to these figures. These will frustrate all these bad things. We repeat our client, and then we end. This is a good chiastic formula. By the way, notice at the end that you end with a nice verse, right? So you, when scribes had spare space at the end, they tended to add some extra verses for to really harness the power of scripture. This is another standard protection spell. I'm not going to read this one, but just so you see that the distribution is different between the two of the colors that you all can see. Other kinds of incantations. We had protection, now we have curse bowls, right? People will say, Jews don't do black magic. I don't know where that idea comes from, but it's not true. Here you have a curse bowl, and notice the kind of, I've highlighted the special vocabulary. Send against Faruch, son of Borzoi, your jailers and your master. Release dogs from leashes and cubs from chains. May they inflame him and burn him and punish him. We do not like Faruch, son of Borzoi. You also, therefore, have counter-curse bowls. This is an economy, right? And what you're doing is you're overturning. This is an act of overturning. So overturn, send, and return. Send against her dogs, right? She tried to send dogs against me. You got to send them back her way. Interestingly, these bowls are often sealed with bitumen, and it seems to be that this is an attempt to kind of mimic the act of overturning, right? No matter which way you turn it, you're turning over the curse. We have love magic. There are different kinds of love magic. We don't like this term love magic, but it's convenient. There's erotic love, and there's kind of affection, philia, a great book on the subject. But this one is particularly erotic love, and you, again, love is a burning sensation in this period. It's conceived of as burning, and so you inflame, you kindle, you burn. You also have to have hot herbs, peppers, right? So, right, all sorts of things we associate with heat and hotness and made inflame and burn them with love for this person. If you have love spells, you all know what's coming. You have anti-love spells. And this is turn away his attention. I don't want anything to do with him. And here you use language of the dead. May it be dead, right? Kill that flame inside him. Make him be as dead as possible. We have bowls for business success. My students typically don't fail to notice that one of the few of these that survive is named for a guy named Warden. That can't be chance. So for the prosperity of Warden, son of Mirai, and notice, and for the coming to him of men and of women, Jews and Gentiles, strangers and relatives, right? He wants to be patronized by everybody around him. This could be useful for social history, imagining Jews and Gentiles both, at least they are, coming to the same shops, something to think about. We have some that have no client names at all. This is just the Hebrew prayer, the Shema. And we know it's the prayer and not just the passages from Deuteronomy because it includes, I hope you all can see this on the bottom here, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. That is the liturgical line that appears only in liturgy and not in scripture. And so this is straight out of the, I don't want to say liturgical books because it implies that they're using written text, but out of the liturgy. Who was this for? Who was this against? They didn't feel the need to say. Maybe the Shema was powerful enough on its own that you didn't need to also name the client. We have other really funky bowls. This one, notice, is not in spiral, but in kind of these 4 quadrants. And these cite 4 verses, some of which are the most, Zechariah 3:2 is the most common verse cited on the bowls. May the Lord rebuke you, Satan, is what it is in English. But it's, of course, the one place where the Lord rebukes Satan. Pretty good verse to use on your incantation bowls. There are, amongst these kind of the practices in these incantations, you have sounds and images. I spoke already about some of these characteres. Here you have an Ouroboros in the middle of a bowl. So you have these shapes that might have some power. But you also have these sounds that don't mean anything to us. Here's one bowl on the top. I'm not going to try to read it, but in the yellow you see some kind of sound, and again, just to kind of whet your appetite, we find the exact same spell and the exact same sounds in the Babylonian Talmud. For a demon, one should say, same thing. So again, this is abracadabra. These are things that are transferable. It's not just someone who's kind of speaking gibberish, as we would say. This is a serious practice that they took, that they imported a lot of weight to. Okay, but this gets us to a whole different genre of bowls. We've been kind of speaking about literate bowls, bowls that have content that is easily legible to us, that we can read and we can decipher and then understand. But there's a whole other class of bowls, roughly 20% of all the bowls that have been discovered, that are what we call pseudoscript. You can see some specimens here. Some of these, like the one on the top left, are using a script that, to anyone who can read Hebrew, you kind of keep being lured into the belief that you're going to decipher this, and then you just can't. It doesn't ever click. Some of them don't look anything like a script, like the one in the middle. And so the question is, what is this practice, right? So we have some that are clearly legible, some that aren't. The typical explanation until the last decade or so was that these are illiterate charlatans. Clearly, incantation bowls is a profitable business. Some of the many illiterate people in ancient Iraq wanted in, and so they made some up. There are a lot of problems with this theory. The main one in my mind is a lot of these bowls don't even resemble script in any way, shape, or form, and you have to have a very poor conception of what it means to be illiterate to think that they can't differentiate between script and shapes. And I think everyone can differentiate between those two things in a world in which they are indeed bombarded by script on coins, on inscriptions, everywhere they look. So I don't think this not only I, but I'm one of the people who don't think this work. I think it's more of a deliberate practice. During the first week of COVID, like so many of you who were struggling to find meaning in their lives, I sat on a couch and I went through the entire Penn collection, and I started to sort these different objects. Before I get to that, maybe these, so we can ask, what are these objects? We're going to talk a little bit about this, right? What's the practice of writing these letters? So clearly letters have power, but we already saw even in the literate bowls that letters have power, sounds have power. So maybe these are just meant to harness the power of letter and sound without any kind of legibility of the incantation. Maybe that's what this practice is. Maybe these were meant to be accompanied by a performance, and the power really resided in the performance, where you name the clients, you name the demons. We have very few descriptions of what the scribal practice looked like, but one of the few that does survive says the following in an incantation bowl: I adjure you in the name of he who is great and frightful, that you may silence from Berich Yehabia, son of Mama, the mouths of all people who write books, who sit in forts, who sit in the marketplace and streets, and who go out on the road, so that their tongues should cleave to their mouths and they should not speak evil words against me. So notice that these are writers who are speaking. That is, both writing and speaking might be part of this practice, and because of the way archaeology and history works, the speaking doesn't survive, but the writing does. And so maybe these were accompanied by a kind of performance of some sort that imbued it with more meaning. So back to the kind of catalog that I made. We have our squiggles. We have many of these different types of squiggles. Again, I don't think anybody would confuse this for script. You have your lines. And then you have your genuine pseudoscript, which is clearly meant to imitate script, but there are differences even within this category of pseudoscript. Some of them are meant to replicate another language, Hebrew, Syriac, Mandaic. Some of them are a kind of new script, and the same scribe will use this fabricated script on multiple incantation bowls. This is pseudo-Hebrew script. Just give you some examples. Notice that that's the same demon in both of them. So this is the same scribe, both of them in our collection, who is writing the same pseudoscript. So he's doing this intentionally. This is glossographia, or invented alphabets. I mean, this one is more Hebrew, but some of them are kind of entirely distinct. Here are some other examples. And so part of this effort to understand this other side of these bowls, this 20% of the bowls, this practice where the script seems to contain power or the sounds seem to contain power, thanks to the Cat Center's generous support, in 2022 we began to pull all of these out of the library, also with the keeper of the Near East, Katie Blanchard's help, and examine them. And these had been ignored because if you think that these are texts composed by charlatans, you tend not to give them that much time and attention. And so if you kind of view them as a deliberate practice and try to understand their practice, what are they telling us? So we began to look at these with the help of Dr. Rivka Elitzur Lehman, who is an amazing scholar of ancient Jewish magic. One of the things that we did is we just tried to decipher bowls that previously were too faded to read. And with the help of the Center for the Analysis of Archaeological Materials here, we began to decipher bowls that had never before been read or were not visible to the naked eye. Just to whet your appetite here, look at the last line on the left, on the bottom. You can't make anything out. It's pretty hard. But we can now, which is nice. And so this is, we've only scanned roughly 3 bowls, some of which were made legible through this practice, some of which weren't, which seems to be something about the amount of iron in the dye, in the ink. And so this is something we need to spend more time understanding, but we're at early stages. We also found other texts that had been ignored. This one we looked at and we kept being able to read it, but not really, and until we squinted and realized that it's just mirror script. It's just inverted. It's a nice, good incantation. Depart all wicked curses by this bowl, all of them, all the curses. I mean, there was more, it was longer, but it's just a kind of inverted script. Why would you do this? Good question. We have one sample, so your theories are as good as mine. We have people who are playing with duplicating consonants. This is a legible bowl, but they're repeating over and over again consonants in odd ways. You can see here, amen, amen, and sella, amen, amen, sella, hallelujah, right? Lengthening, shortening. This should already kind of evoke Victoria's performance from before and what we're going to hear soon. And then one of the bowls we saw outside were 5 of these types, which is clearly by the same scribe, and they're obviously pseudoscript. You can't read it, apart from the name of the client, which is different in all 5. So again, back to this point of this is not a charlatan. This is a person who certainly knows how to write the name of the client, and is choosing, for whatever reason, to produce bowls in this kind of format. There are other bowls where I think we can, if we're moving away from just the power of the incantation into the language, the sound, the script, there's also the bowl itself is an object that can have power, the materiality of this practice, as we just heard, the bowl, the cave, right? I mean, these are this kind of vacuous, empty space. We found 2 bowls when we were going through them. These are 2 salad bowls. So if you saw outside the kind of cereal bowls of a typical bowl, these are roughly 4 times as big. They're by the same scribe with the same image and the same incantation for the same client. And it's a tiny little incantation in the middle of the bowl that says this image is for counteracting the Lilith and the demons that she not approach Faroch bar Mashkoi. Now, I tend to think that it's not an accident that a massive bowl was coupled with a tiny incantation. That is, I think this is an intentional practice, that there's something here about you need an incantation to, I don't know, trigger the magic of the bowl, but still here the shape of the bowl, the size of the bowl is at least contributing to the practice. So again, I think we can somewhat convincingly say that this is not illiterate charlatans, but this is a deliberate practice which really gives us insight into the import given to script, sound, shapes, images, and more. The bowls are useful for a whole host of issues, none of which I have time to go into now. This is what I do in my spare time. It's an amazing field and it's growing. If any of you, including my students who are here, want to become scholars, this is a very ripe field for more participants. But I just want to kind of conclude by discussing how they're useful for the history of Jewish magic and mysticism, which gets us on a trajectory from the bowls to Victoria. Number one, the bowls have an afterlife. They have an afterlife because these incantations don't disappear. Some of them continue to be repeated and put on new surfaces and in new contexts. One of them is one that makes it, for those of you who are really pious and say the prayer before you go to sleep. This is already in early medieval Babylonian liturgy. On the left, we have the spell, very common formula. It's called the angels all around me formula. Gabriel is on the right of Dudita, daughter of Dudai, and her sons and her daughters. Michael's on her left. Before her is Susiel, behind her is Menucha, and above her is Shechinat El. Okay, so you're surrounded by angels. And what you should be saying every night, if you listen to your rabbi, in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, Michael is on my right, and Gabriel is on my left, and Uriel before me, and Raphael before me, and the presence of God, Shechinat El, is above my head. Now, the angels are somewhat in different orders, but that's true of the bowls as well. They appear in different orders in the 12 instances of this formula that survive, but Shechinat El, the divine presence, is always above your head, of course. So the afterlife of these bowls continues, right? Their incantations are either as a whole or in part perpetuated in these medieval practices. By the time we get to the early medieval period, we begin to get consolidations of incantations in what we would call grimoires or recipe books, handbooks. There are several of these that survive. Many of these were also, well, I'll say first, these are kind of very interesting literary compositions, the Book of Secrets, Sefer Harazim, Sword of Moses, Charba de Moshe, and so on and so forth. They have narratives. I mean, they're very complicated, but it's clear that people would read these and then also kind of take out the incantations that most interested them. So we have personal handbooks as well. So this became a kind of way of consolidating the knowledge, these ideas, these technologies from late antiquity. One of these is a work known as the Book of Creation or Sefer Yetzirah, which is really a systemized attempt to talk about the power of language and script. So what we see a kind of nascent version of on the bowls, just a few centuries later gets a kind of full-throated articulation in works like Sefer Yetzirah, which is very informative, I think, for Victoria and her work. This practice continues today. We have modern sorcerers and amulet makers who read the bowls, are very inspired by them, and imitate them. This is an attempt to make them on glass. I have some notes. Number one, the chamsa, that's medieval, sorry, shouldn't be here, if you're trying to imitate the late antique practice. The other bigger problem is the numbers over here. Now, we've seen letters, we've seen sounds, we've seen images, but why numbers? I think this is a mistake. I think basically they looked at the bowls in the Penn Museum and saw the call number and thought that was part of the original practice. This is why you need to take courses on Jewish magic before you make your own amulets. Of course, my students make amulets in our Jewish magic class, including one who genuinely in April 2020, in April of 2020 wrote, "I ask you Covidiel, Fauciel, Purell," and who even designed her own Corona demon. So it's a pretty exceptional. And I think Victoria is part of this kind of history, this trajectory. She's really reinterpreting and bringing to life what I think is still a living practice through performance, a performance that we might not be able to recover for the past, but I think through Victoria we have a slightly better sense of what it might have sounded like. Thank you.
The beginning of everything, התחלת כל דבר, the beginning of everything, מן החומר השחור, from the black substance, שחור, black, שחור, חור, black substance, חומר. The beginning of everything is from the black substance that resembles the substance of ink, dio, ink, and from the white substance that resembles the painted blood, the semen. The essence of semen in all of its elements resembles the ink itself. הנכתב בקולמוסו הידוע, הקשה ונטבע בקירות הרחם. The essence of semen in all of its elements resembles the ink itself, for it is written with its known hard quill and imprinted in the walls of the mother's womb. Woman. Everybody and each B-O-D-Y is a letter. Everybody is a letter, is a sign. Thus all the worlds, all the years, all the souls are full of letters, full of letters, full of letters. And this is your sign when you וזה לך אות. בעיונך באותיות הקדושות האלה ובצרפך אותן. And this is your sign when you explore these holy letters with truth and faith and you combine them. The head with the end, and the end with the head, and the head with the middle, and the middle with the end, with the head. וזה לך האות בעיונך באותיות הקדושות האלו וצרפך אותם. מה שבראש עם הסוף, ומה שבסוף עם הראש, ומה שבראש עם התוך, יגלגל כל אותיותיו פנים ואחור, פנים ואחור, פנים ואחור, בניגונים רבים. Roll all your letters backwards and forwards in many, many, many melodies. Aleph, with them all, and them all with Aleph. Bet, with them all, and them all with Bet. Gimel, with them all, and them all with Gimel. Dalet, D, with them all, and them all with Dalet. Hey, with them all, and them all with Hel. Vav, Aleph-Bet, Gimel, Dimel, Dalet, hey, Vav, Vav. 22 foundation letters engraved with voice, carved with breath, set in the mouth in 5 places, in the throat, in the palate, in the tongue, in the teeth, in the lips. 22. And from them God depicted all that was formed and all that would be formed. 22 אותיות יסוד, חקוקות בקול, חצובות ברוח, קבועות בפה ב5 מקומות, בגרון, בחך, בלשון, בשיניים, בשפתיים, 22 אותיות שקשר בלשונו, וגילה את סודו. משכן במים דלקן באש, רעשן ברוח, בערן ב7, נהגן ב12 מזלות, 22 אותיות, חקקן, חצבן, שקלן, המירן, צרפן, צר בהם. נפש כל יצור, וכל העתיד לצור. 22 אותיות יסוד, 3 אמות. 7 כפולות, 12 פשוטות, 12 פשוטות, 3 אמות, א', מ', ש', אמות, א', מ', ש', מ' דוממת, ש' שורקת, א', חוק מכריע בינתיים, 3 אמות שהם 3 אבות, מהם יצא אש רוח מים, 7 כפולות, 7 כפולות, ב' ו' ג' ג' ד' ד' כ' כ' פ' פ' ר' ר' ת' ת' 7 כפולות 7 ולא 6, 7 כפולות 7 ולא 8, 2 עיניים, 2 אוזניים, 2 נקבי האף והפה, צא וחשוב, מה שאין הפה יכול לדבר ואין האוזן יכולה לשמוע, הלא 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 פשוטות, 12 פשוטות, ה' ו' ז' ח' ט' י' ל' נ' ס' ע' צ ד' ק' חקקן חצבן שקלן המירן צרפן צר בהן 12 חודשים בשנה, ניסן, אייר, סיוון, תמוז, אב, אלול, תשרי, מר, חשוון, כסלו, טבת, שבט, אדר, 12 מנהיגין בנפש, 2 ידיים, 2 רגליים, 2 כליות, טחול, כבד, מרה, דקין, כבקור, כיוון, 2 לעזין, 2 עליזין, 2 יועצין, 2 יעוצין, 2 טורפין, 2 ציידין, זה לעומת זה. עשאן כמין מדינה, וערכן כמין מלחמה, מלחמה יצר מתוהו ממש, יצר מתוהו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות מאוויר שאינו נתפס. He made something out of the void. He made non-existence into existence. Non-existence. Existence. Non-existence. Existence. He made non-existence into existence. Existence. Non-existence. He carved massive stones from air that cannot be grasped. יצר מתוהו ממש, עשה אינו ישנו, חצב אבנים גדולות, מאוויר שאינו נתפס. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. Good evening. I'm very happy to be with you this evening and to share with you some of my work. I just presented the text that you just heard. The beginning, the first sentence was of Avram Abulafia. He was a rabbi from Spain who devoted all of his life for the mouth as a tool of creation through the Hebrew letters. And the second text was from the book of creation, the most ancient Kabbalah book. And now I would like to present some other things. I will start from, I will go back into the book of creation. I would like to show you a little bit, a glimpse of something that you can feel it. So every letter is located in another place in the human body, according to the book of creation. So the letter Aleph, the first letter, is here in the chest. I would like you now to put your hand on the chest, please. Just inhale and exhale. You know, when this letter is not voweled, I would say. Can you say voweled? Okay. When it's not voweled, it's complete silence. Let's just feel it. Now, when it starts to be voweled, a human vibration, a voice is appearing. Let's try to see this, to feel it. We will take air from our nostrils and slowly, slowly, if you know, for me, the voice, the human voice is like the ink, and the body is like the pen, and the space is like the canvas. I would like to offer to you to connect with it. So we will take air from the nostrils, and slowly, slowly, we are going to feel the vibration of the Aleph very softly here. When this vibration appears, we are the listener and the doer at the same time, because we listen, we hear to the vibration of our life right now. At the same time, somehow it comes through us. So it's a very special intention. Let's do it again. Thank you. I have many things to say about this letter, but we will go on. The other letter that I want to show you is located in the belly. You remember that I say that there are three: the head, the middle, and the end. Okay? So the middle is the chest, and the end is somehow the belly and the legs. Okay? And this letter is the letter Mem. We close the lips. Mem, 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 mem. Mem. Thank you. You know, all of the letters, they are not connected only to organs in the body, but at the same time to the way we perceive the whole space. So the Mem connects with the earth, Adam, which is earth, okay? The other letter I want to show you for the first group of the three letters, head, middle, and end, is the letter that connects with the head. But for that, I really want to put the microphone, and I will show you why. So, this letter is very special because we are not using the voice vibration, only air. Okay? It's a letter Shin, and it connects with the head. Let's do it. Inhale. Okay. At the same time, it connects also with the sky. So basically, it looks exactly like that. It's like an upper rooting. Okay? Let's do it. We will do this, and we will connect our head with the sky. Yeah. Now I would like us to try to say some words. So we will start with a word for fire, which is Aleph, which is here, right? And then Shin, which is in the head. Esh, right? Let's do it as if we are typing on our body. Let's inhale. Esh. I can really feel the fire going up. You know? Let's do it again. Beautiful. Now another word I want to show you, which is really, really beautiful. The word sun. It's shin, mem, shin, shemesh. Let's do it and you will feel it. But I want to ask you, if you want, to let your legs be on the floor so you can really feel the mem. The mem comes from down. Again. So it's a movement. The word shemesh, it's a movement. It's a movement, exactly like what the sun is. It comes from above, and then something happens. Okay, another word that I would like to show you is the word Aleph Mem Aleph, which is Ima. Okay, now the first Aleph in the Ima, E, we pronounce it, right? Because it's voweled. But the last one is not pronounced. But still we have to pay attention to it. We go back into here. Okay? Let's say Ima. Ima. Silence in the heart. Aleph. Again. Let the mem be there. Now, we will say Ima many times. Ima, 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 Ima. What is coming out of Ima? Water. We are going back into the womb. Ima, 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 I want now to sing, to bring water to Jerusalem. This is a very ancient piyut from Yemen. I'm thirsty for your water, Jerusalem. We need so much water. You know, according to the tradition, there is a lot of water under Jerusalem that's supposed to come out. But right now, when I walk in the street, I see more the stones. And I'm really missing her water, her feminine side. אני צמא למימייך ירושלים. אני צמא, אני צמא, אני צמא, אני צמא למימייך the permission, I would like to go up and connect with your gates, which are glorified. Im yesh reshut li, lu yesh reshut li, lu yesh reshut li, lu yesh reshut li, alet habara, toch sha'arei Tzion, toch sha'arei Tzion, toch sha'arei Tzion, toch sha'arei Tzion, asher hem na'alalim. Ani tzameh, ani tzameh, ani tzameh, ani tzameh, למימייך ירושלם. I would like to invite now Tom. Thank you so much for joining. We will continue with the water. And this is a sentence from the Song of Songs. Living water streaming from above, from Mount Lebanon. Locked garden, locked fountain. Okay, I want to show you a little bit with the language because it's really nice. So, Maim Hayim, living water. Repeat after me. Maim Hayim. I want you to feel the mem and the yud. Maim Hayim. The yud. We have a lot of yuds and mem. Maim Hayim. Living water. Streaming from above, from Mount Lebanon. Maim Hayim. ונוזלים מן לבנון. And this is somehow the water that are streaming from above. You know, the Lebanon, it's the lamed that goes up. And the nun goes down. So this is the streaming of the knowledge. The water is like the Torah, is the knowledge that streams from above through here to us, and then we talk. We hope that we are connected. So this is, whenever I sing it, that's what I feel. And the Lebanon is also in the country of Israel. It's the place from where the water comes to the whole country. Down, it's a desert, and the water are coming from up, from Lebanon. So it's a dual meaning of the source of life. The mayim, hayim, venozelim in Lebanon. And then gan. Gan is garden. Almost the same pronunciation. Gan, garden. Okay? Na'ul, locked. Say after me, na'ul. It's locked. Gan, na'ul, locked garden. And then, it's so beautiful, we say gal. What is gal? Wave. And the wave is locked also. This is an amazing thing. Gan, na'ul, gal. It's like the movement is locked. Let's say gal, na'ul. Gan na'ul, gal na'ul, ahoti chala, my sister, my bride. You will hear me singing it, and if you want to join, you are welcome. It's very simple. Maim חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון. You can repeat after me. We will sing it a few times. מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון. Again, let's ask for it. מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון. גנעול, גנעול, אחותי חלה, גלנעול, מעיין חתום. Suddenly I think that also Jerusalem is a locked gal, is a locked wave. גנעול, אחותי חלה, גלנעול, מעיין חתום, מעיין חתום, מעיין חתום, חתום, מעיין חתום, מעיין חתום. מים, 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 חתום, מים, 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 חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים, 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 חיים ונוזלים מלבנון. גנעול, אחותי חלה, גלנעול, מעיין חתום, גנעול, אחותי חלה, גלנעול, מעיין חתום, מעיין חתום, מעיין, locked fountain, מעיין חתום, מעיין חתום, מעיין חתום. מים, 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 חיים ונוזלים מלבנון, מים חיים ונוזלים מלבנון. מים, 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 מים. Thank you. Another one from the Song of Songs. Another one from the Song of Songs. You know, I'm from Jerusalem. When I read the Song of Songs, I feel that I'm really identifying with it. And it's almost like it's about me. Sometimes, you know, it's so personal for me. So, but also, of course, it's much more than that. The guards that patrol the city found me. This happened in the middle of the night. To them I said, "Have you found the one that my soul loved?" I barely passed them till I found him, the one that my soul loved. I held him. I would not let him go till I brought him to my mother's house and into the chamber of her womb. מצאוני השומרים הסובבים בעיר את שאהבה נפשי ראיתם כמעט שעברתי מהם עד שמצאתי את שאהבה נפשי אחזתי עד שהבאתי אל בית אמי ואל חדר אורתי מן המדבר כתמרות עשן smoke עשן who is this that rising from the desert with a lot of smoke מכותרת מצאוני השומרים הסובבים בעיר Thank you. Another one from the Song of Song. So, you know, we have only 5 minutes. We don't have time. So let's do it. This is the last sentence from the Song of Songs, and it's a calling for the feminine divine. Hayoshevet baganim, you who dwells in the garden. Please note how many mems we have here, the sound of mem. Hayoshevet baganim, you who dwells in the garden. Haverim makshivim, friends are listening. Lekolech, to your voice. Hashmi'ini, let me hear it. היושבת בגנים, חברים מקשיבים, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני. היושבת בגנים, חברים מקשיבים, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני. היושבת בגנים, חברים מקשיבים, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני, לקולך השמיעיני. היושבת בגנים, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Aleph, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, 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 Zayin, Z, Het, Tet, Het, Tet, Yud, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Lamed, Mem, 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 Nun, Samach, Ain, Pe, 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 Tzadik, Tz, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Sh, Taf, Taf, Aleph, Taf, Taf, Aleph, Taf, Taf. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Het, Het, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Lamed, Mem, 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 Nun, Samach, Ain, Pe, 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 Tzadik, Kuf, Resh, Shin. Taf, Aleph, Taf, Taf, Aleph, Taf. Abagata vazahata kalamana sapataka rashata'a. Obogodo vazohoto kolomono sopotsoko roshoto. O. Ibigidi vizihiti kilimini sipitsi kirishiti. I. Ubugudu vazohoto kolomono sopotsoko roshoto. בשר רוח ונשמה, גד ועצם וקרמה, דמות צלם ורקמה, עוד להבל דמה, ונמשל כבהמות נדמה, זיו ותואר וקומה, חידוש פני אדמה, תיעת עצי נשמה, יקבים וקמה, כרמים ושקמה, לתבל המסוימה, מטרות עוז לסממה, נשייה לקיימה, שיחים לרוממה, עדנים לעצמה, פרחים לעצימה, קרים לזרמה, רביבים לשלמה, שתייה לרוממה, תלויה על בלימה, מה. הושענה, תלויה על בלימה, הושענה, אדון המושיע, בלתך להושיע, גיבור וערב להושיע, דלותי וליושיע, האל המושיע, ומציל ומושיע, זועקך תושיע, חוכך הושיע, תלאך תשביע, יבוא להשפיע, כל שיח תדשב ותושיע, לגל בל תרשיע, מגנים תמתיק ותושיע, נסים להסיע, צעירים להגיע, עננים להמניע, פותח ידך ומשביע, צמאך תושיע, קורך תושיע, רחומך תושיע, שוחרך תושיע, תמימך תושיע, הושענה, תלויה על בלימה, הושענה, א' ב' ג' ד' ה' ו' ז' ח' ח' ט' י' כ' למד למד מם נון סמך עין פ' 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 צדיקו צדיקו פרשין ת' א' ת' ת' א' ת' ת' א' ת' א' ת' א' ת'. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank very much the Penn Museum, Anne, Stephen, and the Institute for giving me the privilege to be here with you. To Simcha, it was really fascinating to hear you, because a lot of things were new for me. And for all of you that you came, and may we will be honored to present the energy of the feminine divine among us in our world these days, and to let Jerusalem, let the water under Jerusalem come, and to be surrounded with softness and with healing. To Jerusalem and to all of us.